I had a story from this show where I said, "My dear Sarah, about to give a monologue," and I had a woman say, "Yes," and the rest of the audience wasn't very happy with her. So I'm Steve Sherman, and I am coming to you from Knoxville, Tennessee, the native lands of the Yuchi, Muskogee Creek, and Cherokee Nations. I'm a lecturer in acting now at the University of Tennessee, where I've worked at the Clarence Brown Theater, and in my first year, I was lucky enough to overlap with Tramell in his third year, where we got to do 3 shows together, the middle one being this very powerful play, The Whipping Man, where I played Caleb. Tramell, tell us about yourself. Where are you now? What are you doing? We want to hear.
Yeah, my name is Tramell Tillman. I am an actor. I graduated from the University of Tennessee in 2014, and I am currently in Washington Heights in Manhattan in the native land of Lenape. And I'm excited to be here. I can't believe it's 3 plays that we did together.
I know, almost back to back to back. And it was really strange to go from The Whipping Man straight into Spam-A-Lot. I think you can't get more separate on either end of the spectrum, right?
Ham of a play. Oh my God, it was so much fun.
We may have needed Spam-A-Lot though after doing The Whipping Man.
I would agree. We needed that reprieve.
Yeah, right. So you played John and I played Caleb in this 3-character play, very powerful and driven sort of play by Matthew Lopez. When you probably read it a year before. I know I read it when I was given my offer to come out to grad school, and I flew through the pages. What was your reaction to it, and what did you think the reaction would be to our audience base at the CBT?
Steve, I loved it. When I first read it, I was gripped by the mystery in it and the plot turns and the twists. And when I got to the end of it, I got chills. Like, it was just like, this is going to be good. But I have to be honest, I was a little nervous. I wasn't sure how our audiences were going to receive it at that time. You know, we're talking about slavery. This is a hard, vicious, ugly thing in our country. And we're a part of the Deep South, a part of the South, a part of the Confederacy. And, you know, there are varying views about the involvement within the Civil War. So I was a little nervous. I was cautious about it, but I was hoping that, you know, we would rally and support this play and talk about the themes that are in it.
Yeah, even back in 1865, this area was very split in the Civil War. It's just a kind of interesting area as far as the history goes. But we learned right away that the audience took to it very well. We had packed houses. We were right next to the audience, kind of in a thrust. It was kind of in the 180 in the carousel, and we could just feel that energy coming off the audience. What were some good experiences? Are there any stories that come to mind with that show and how intimate it was?
Well, I loved how I was able to just reach out and touch the persons in the audience if you know if I wanted to. You know, I did not, but you know, and be able to give, you know, pieces of text to them as well. You incorporate them. They're a part of this story as well.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the night my mom and best friend and my sister came to see the show. And they sat right in the center of the theater. And we came right on to Caleb's amputation scene. And the designers did such a beautiful job sculpting that gunshot wound to make it look so real and gushing with blood when Simon pulled back your pant leg to see the wound.
Yeah.
And we had to tie you down and hold you down, screaming, and then Simon wielded out this saw, and he was about to saw right into your leg, and you can hear people swear. I heard my mother like screaming in disgust. And I remember my sister saying when the lights went out, they're gonna put us out this theater. Put out, because we just show it all the way out. And it was just such a rewarding moment. It was They were
there's
with
nothing
it.
you can do when you hear your mom's voice and you're like feet away from her. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing. You just give into it. It just.
I remember a moment from one performance where I came in late on a cue. You walked, like Daver left stage left, and you were following him. And then I tried to scream to him, and you came back to shut me up. And I didn't come in, and you just gave me those like Tramell stare. And I was like, "Oh, Simon!" Live theater.
Yes, live theater. And there were moments where you and I had, because we had such great rapport on stage, we were like, there was like that one-upsmanship, you know, like, well, maybe it's this, well, maybe it's this, and maybe it's this. Yeah. And there were moments where I felt like I was going to crack because we felt like these little two kids in the playground. I was like, well, I'm going to do it this way. Well, you're not going to do it. Well, that's stupid. And, you know, it's just like that kind of level of play.
Right. There's some stories to each performance that with the audience saying funny things or the reactions you get. But this play deals with some very dark subject matters, which I think reviewing the script, you know, when we review scripts sometimes as actors, we're kind of like, oh, I didn't even see that at the time. Was there anything that's resonant to you now that you didn't maybe pinpoint at the time of the rehearsal process?
Yeah, I'd have to say the monologue Simon gave to Caleb in terms of the removal of Caleb's leg. You know, he had to convince him that in order for him to make it through the next day, that his leg was going to have to be amputated. And when I read it, you know, working on this piece, I just thought this was a grotesque, you know, vivid description of what could potentially happen when gangrene gets into the blood system and permeates throughout the rest of the body. But now reading it, it feels like a metaphor for what could happen with these old ideas of entitlement and racism, or these very present, you know, white supremacy. You know, the text suggests that, you know, that gangrene will spread and go to your kidneys and go to your liver and go to your heart and will make your heart black. It will, your loins will fall off. It talks about how it will not only kill you, but also affect your future generations, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, you know, you either cut this ugly thing off, you get rid of the poison, or you die.
Yeah. And that, you know, we get so attached to ideas sometimes that it's really difficult to open up and truly be kind of open-minded. And you see these characters are in a time where there's such desperation that Caleb is just blind to reality. When I was looking at the script over again, you know, there's this other moment at the end where he's talking about his relationship with Simon's daughter, Sarah. And sort of out of desperation, he says, I loved her. And Simon says, you owned her.
Right.
And it was just one of those other just moments of the end of this show of these young guys who, you know, Simon just kind of trying to open up his eyes to actual reality.
And what was also gripping is that he compared his relationship with Sarah to the ownership of a dog. It's like you loved her, but you loved her like you love a dog.
Right.
You love and treat a dog, but then when the dog does bad, you beat the dog, you know? Yeah. So it was like so impactful.
Right.
Yeah, it was just gripping.
How do you think, so we did this play 7 years ago. You know, our world keeps changing. Certainly it has this past year. It's been a very difficult year with not just COVID, but just the issues we've seen in the world. How do you think this play would be perceived in 2021 versus 2014? Do you think it would be perceived differently, especially in regards to John and his newfound freedom and the looting?
Well, we have to look at what each of these characters do, right? And how they survive in this new world, right? So, and specifically looking at John makes his way of living by going to other places and, stealing. Some people will call it looting. And when I look at that text now, it immediately makes me think of the conversations that happened over this past summer about the looting and the protesting, right? And people would equate them as the same thing. And I remember this wonderful activist spoke up about how, you cannot look at people's actions, but you need to start looking at people's intentions. If we look at John and why he did what he did, this is a person who's never owned anything. He doesn't know what it's like to own, or how to gain ownership. He's watched how other people around him, slave owners, politicians, even the people that he was around, how they went about ownership. And a lot of it was taking. You would take people's lands, you would take people's possessions, you would take people's bodies, ownerships of other people's bodies without their permission. So he was, I feel, enacting the very thing that was done unto him.
That he had observed, right?
Absolutely what he observed. And when we look at our underserved communities and how they're so depraved of resources, you got to ask yourself, what do you expect these people to do?
Yeah.
It's not so much a racial thing, it's a human thing. People need food. They should have access to quality healthcare and good education, and housing, good quality housing, and employment. And
not what they're doing, but like you said, why is this happening, or why are they making these choices?
Exactly. And if you set people up to succeed, I really believe that you'll give them the opportunity to do better. What's really interesting is that Simon says it a lot. It's about choice. You choose. And I really think that each of these men represent different ideas in this society that is ever changing, right? John, Caleb, and Simon all had a choice. If you look at John chose to go out and do the very things that were done to him, to steal, to ravage, right? What he witnessed. Simon remained loyal, right? He took care of Caleb, and he didn't steal anything, and anything that he got was given to him, right? So Caleb, he made his own choices. So it's, now we're at a place where we have this information, right? We understand about entitlement. We understand about racism. We're starting to get down to the nitty gritty about the function of our society and the root of our society. But now we're also at a place where we make the choice. What do we do now with information that's given to us? This freedom, this ability that we have right now. Which is
how the play ends. What do we do now with these two characters? Simon leaves to go after his family, and we are left with these two guys going, what are they going to do now? Are they going to put the past behind them? How much is it going to affect their future? And Matthew Lopez leaves us with that question.
What now?
Oh my gosh. We have to wrap it up, but it is so good to see you, and
likewise, man.
So great to dive back into this very powerful play. Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us. We all miss you here in Knoxville.
Oh, I do miss Knoxville. I miss you all. I do.
Thank you too to the viewers of Theater Thursday today. Wrapping up our final discussion here with Tramell on The Whipping Man by Matthew Lopez. Thank you so much, everyone.